Growing up, we were taught that freedom of speech was our God-given right. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness were supposed to be the foundation of this nation. But every day, we see these principles betrayed. Our outspoken cultural leaders, friends, and family, people who dare to use their voices, are being targeted for their viewpoints. Not for violence, not for hate, but for words. For criticism, for truth. Think about that. Everyday people, the people you follow, listen to, and look up to, are being silenced and labeled dangerous simply for speaking their mind. If it can happen to them, it can happen to any one of us. Influential creators, the very people shaping culture and sparking dialogue, are being branded dangerous for speaking out against injustice. Their voices are being buried, their reputations attacked, and their livelihoods threatened. This is why we cannot depend on platforms that are not built for us. Platforms that suppress us and mute us the moment our words challenge power. The future of the creator economy requires founders who stand on principle, whose ideals don't bend with politics, and whose values don't shift based on who holds power. We should all demand nothing less. We crave spaces created by us, for us. Spaces where freedom to be you is not just a slogan, but a guarantee. We deserve and must demand spaces where our voice can't be silenced and our history can't be rewritten. Places where what you create belongs to you, where your future isn't at the mercy of an algorithm, and where the community protects its own. This isn't just about social media. It's about agency and ownership. It's about making sure that no one corporation or politician can decide whether your voice matters. Today, I'm calling for all of us to stand together and declare, enough is enough. Enough of being silenced. Enough of being labeled as threats for daring to speak. The future belongs to the creators, the truth tellers, the movement builders. And our future will be written on platforms that cannot be bought, muted, or weaponized against us. That is our birthright. Let us be brave, let us be bold, let us be seen, and let us be heard together. Every movement has a moment. Our voices express our freedom, and our freedom is non-negotiable. Now is our time. And as MLK taught us all, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Thank you. (2025). Hello. Welcome to Investathon 2025. I am your host, Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Tonight, we're here to make history and change the world together. Through this journey of Fanbase, I launched this company to be a disruptor in media and tech and empower creators to have ownership in the things that they do. But, in the last year, we've seen a huge shift in the way that freedom of speech has been challenged, and the right to have an opinion and your voice be heard challenged. And we need platforms like Fanbase now. It's a necessity for our community to have our voices, be able to speak, be able to connect, be able to communicate in times of crisis and in times of joy, to celebrate one another. So tonight, we're inviting everybody who's watching to invest in Fanbase. Now, I have a couple of announcements to start this off. First things first is that this raise that is currently at $13.3 million, and we're going to $17 million, will close December 15th, 2025. So this raise is closing December 15th, 2025. So I encourage everybody to invest right now. Invest for your kids, your family, for the holidays, for yourself, and ownership. Next, this process of building this company has always been about ownership, and we need to own the platforms we use. And we've never really, signified that or given the users of a platform who are all early adopters and have equity and ownership in Fanbase, something that shows that, something that signifies that you were here first before everybody else, before anyone. You were an early adopter, you were an earlier believer. So tonight, pull it up, Keenan. tonight, anybody that invests in Fanbase in this round or any previous round, no matter what the amount, will get this verification badge right here. This lets you know that you were here first to signify you own something. This is your app. When he said we will own the apps, I want people to understand that we are going to own the apps. So if you invest for the minimum of $3.99, you get this investor verification badge, right? If you've previously invested in Fanbase, right, you will get this investment verification badge, no matter what the amount was. When you get to the levels that you got the blue verification badge and the gold, you can still have those. But if you want this green one, you can go ahead and have that, because I want everybody to know who owns this platform and who was here from the beginning. So put that out there. I want you guys to know that. Now, I want to make some introductions. I want to introduce my co-host for this evening, Tamisha Harris, who is here, and Roland Martin, who is here. I don't know if Roland's in here yet, but we'll bring Roland in. So welcome them. Tamisha and I, met a few months ago, and she brought the real urgency of ownership in media to this conversation. Why it was so important that we own these platforms. And Tamisha is a news producer. She's someone that's in the media. So the stories that you see on the news, she's the one that produces these stories, the news that you watch. And she came to me and said, Isaac, Fanbase is an emergency. And pretty much everything that she said was going to happen, from late night talk show hosts getting kicked off the air. She said it was going to happen. I didn't believe her. These certain things, these rollbacks, these pressures, all these things happen. She's been right here the entire time saying that's going to happen, and this is what it's about. And Fanbase needs to be our urgent underground railroad, our emergency, all the things that happen. So I want to welcome you. Thank you for being here. Tell everybody, introduce yourself to everybody, and talk about briefly how we even got here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm Tamisha Harris. Thank you, Isaac, and I'm happy to be here. This is an important moment for us. It's an important moment for you. It's critical for this generation. This is our moment to really write the path, because right now we are being. You see what's going on in the news. Fanbase is an emergency right now, and this is what we're here to talk about tonight. What you need to do, what we need you to do, to make sure your voice is not silenced, to make sure our stories are told accurately, and to look back and see what was done before us, and determine how we will forge our path, and then also what we need to do different. So tonight is critical. Tonight is for us. So we're excited about that, and ready to move forward.
I want to give a thank you to everybody who has allowed us to stream and partner with us tonight. So thank you to Roland. Shout out to Keenan. Shout out to the entire Fanbase team. Andy, Noah, Amario, Ebony, Keita, Ava, Lauren, Ramiro, Sil, Val. Like, it's a ton of people that are behind what we're doing. And then our streaming partners, Real Life Productions, Beehive TV, Not All Hood, and Ryan Holt's podcast are airing all across these YouTube channels tonight. All those YouTube channels are also simulcasting. This is also on Fanbase's YouTube and all of our socials as well. We're going to take a break, and I'm going to come back with our first guest, Ryan Holtz. We'll be right back. All right, we are back at Investathon 2025. This first guest that we're having is here for a very, very important reason. I wanted to kick off the show in this event with Ryan Holtz, an amazing Canadian podcaster who had the opportunity of doing his show earlier this year, and I felt like it would be appropriate for Ryan to be part of this conversation for a very, very specific reason. Well, welcome Ryan Holtz to Investathon 2025. What's up, man? How you doing?
Let's go, my man. Thanks for having me. And our chat was very well received with our audience. So I'm excited for this, and it's about damn time. I'm excited.
So what I'm about to announce right now with Ryan together is for a very, very long time since we've been doing equity crowdfunding with Fanbase, Canadian audience, the Canadian users of Fanbase have always been asking, can we invest? Can we invest? And the answer has always been no. But right now, today, live, Canadian people can invest in Fanbase on a platform called Front Funder. And Ryan is in Canada, and Ryan's always wanted to invest. So I want to break that news with you and let you know that you can invest in Fanbase now, Ryan.
Man, that's great. Listen, I mean, ever since you came on our show and I checked out Fanbase and the platform, it got me extremely excited. But I said, man, I feel gatekeep because I'm in Canada. So, I've been DMing you, asking for the link, all these good things, and it only makes sense that, with the talent that we share across border, that now it is available here in Canada. So, on behalf of Canadians, we're very excited to see Fanbase and also get a little bit of a stake of ownership in it.
Man, I appreciate that. If you want to invest in Canada, you can go to Front Funder. That's FRONTFUNDR.com/Fanbase to invest. Right now, it's live. So tap in and make sure you guys get a piece of equity in Fanbase. So now, Ryan, now that you're going to be a Fanbase investor, and you're also a podcaster, let's talk about the state of being a content creator and what's going on with all these social media platforms. How's the environment for you? What are you sensing? What are you feeling?
Well, I always say I think the future of podcasting is where authenticity meets equity. And I think that I like to call it community capitalism, where we're taking followers and making them stakeholders. Yeah. And I think that's something that even independent journalists or podcasters or anybody that's got a message out there, whatever it may be, is starting to really realize. I mean, I'm a big real estate person as well, and I would never build a home on land that I did not own. And when we're building followings and communities, I think the sophisticated, savvy content creators are starting to realize, look, I'm building something on a piece of land that I don't own, and this could be pulled from under me in a crack of a dawn. And when we read those terms and conditions, they are not favorable to the creator. And so Fanbase, again, I think allows for that community capitalism where not only can we just get followers and reach, but we can also get equity and have stakeholders. And it's a two-way street, because I think, you have the foundation, the platform itself that says, hey, look, I got the audience, you got the content, let's have a great relationship that way. But, with a lot of the major platforms, they just don't do that.
For sure. I'm excited. I want to start doing things with you in audio, in the audio space on Fanbase. I've been talking a lot about audio recently, the audio rooms for podcasters, because it gives you the opportunity to do live podcasting for your subscribers. So people that subscribe to you on Fanbase, you can create audio rooms that are actually branded with your podcast branding, call to action, and then they can be behind a paywall as well, and they have to join to be able to do that. Because live podcasting and audio, I don't think is something that really people have approached, but I wanted to broach that subject with you. What do you think about live audio?
I think live audio is good. Again, podcasting, the true definition of it is only audio. With video, it's massive now. And so audio, I do think is good, but I think that, you got to submerge that with video and audio. And I see that you have already been doing that, and that excites me. I think audio rooms are good, but I mean, we need audio and video, in my opinion.
So that's
100%.
So we're talking about Watch Party then. So Watch Party is a functionality inside of audio where you can take a YouTube video, pin it to the top of an audio room, and actually watch a video with your friends. I actually been doing my podcast like that, actually debuting my podcast inside of an audio room using a Watch Party. That's something that we should think about doing. What else in the content creator landscape do you feel like now? Is this whole TikTok situation in America affecting you guys in Canada, or what are you sensing and what are you feeling?
You know what? It kind of is. I mean, obviously we have a new prime minister that's in, and, bills that were, put to the legislature under the previous prime minister have been kind of a little bit somewhat voided out. But, it's affecting us a little bit, not heavily. I think TikTok in general, though, because we do call it the TikTokification of social media. I think it's changed the content game 100%. What excites me is people who are coming into the content game. You don't need a big following. I mean, you could literally on your first post go viral, and I really like that, because the audience is saying, hey, we want our interests served to us on a plate.
So what about like Fanbase? I want you to tell the people out there who from your perspective, what do you feel about Fanbase? What do you like about Fanbase? What drew you to the platform, and now have you becoming an investor?
Well, I think number one is approachability. I think you and I are having the chat right now. You're the founder. You know, you have kept an open door policy, I think, even on social media, which I hope you never close, because I think that it's nice to see the founder and somebody who's behind the platform in the mix of the day-to-day, and in the mix of not only just the content creators, but the audience itself. Obviously, you have a great pulse on all the other social media platforms and what they're doing. But I think you have a good eye on some of the pitfalls and gaps, and are really trying to, help the creators and say, look, you need to make some money here. You need to have some equity in what you're doing. Fanbase has a robust options of tools that I think are, still are underutilized, but with more time, more audience will be utilized. And I think, again, if anybody's an investor or sees the future, I think Fanbase is a great way to get in early on and ride this thing into the growth leg.
I like to hear that. So where can everybody find you on your podcast and also on Fanbase? I want to make sure that people tap in with you.
Yeah, the Ryan Holt Show podcast, anywhere you grab your podcast, YouTube, all social platforms, or just, ChatGPT and put in my name. I am readily available. And, people who are listening to this, go out there and get yours.
I also want to thank you for allowing this actually to air on your YouTube channel. We talked about that. People don't know that are watching. Anybody in Canada watching right now, Ryan is also a partner of this Investathon this year, allowing us to broadcast through his YouTube channel. So I appreciate you allowing us to have access to your audience. And again, that Canadian audience, again, that's why I wanted to make sure I hired you on, because now Canada can invest. So thank you for that.
My pleasure, man. Anything I can do to support. Let's, again, anything that moves the culture forward.
Absolutely. So one more time, if you're in Canada and you want to invest, finally you can. You go to FrontFunder, FRONTFUNDR.com/Fanbase to invest. Make sure you join and get equity in Fanbase, create a profile, and join us on this journey where the users actually own the social media platforms that they use. Ryan, I want to thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you, and we'll make sure we stay in contact. And I want to do your show again after this round is over.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me, Isaac.
All right, my guy. Thank you very much.
Who you a fool for this? Who you a fool for this? Kind. Let her cook. Let me cook. Have you ever been to London? Who you a fool for this? Who you a fool for this? Kind. Woo! Let me cook.
Our has recently made an amazing acquisition in the space of Black media, and I want to bring her to the program right now and talk to her along with Tamisha. Everybody welcome Miss Ashley Allison, the new owner of The Root.
Hello.
What's up?
How you doing?
How are you?
Just living the dream. I am great. I'm tired. I'm overwhelmed. I'm humbled. I'm excited. I'm an owner. I feel really good.
Yay.
I feel really good.
Ownership is what this is about this evening. When I heard this acquisition, I've been on a mission to talk about we need more Black media ownership for our stories to get out here. Tamisha's been talking about that, and how important it is that we're able to tell our stories and get our stories out there. What made you want to make this acquisition?
Well, I was a journalism major in college. My father used to write for the Black newspaper in our hometown, Youngstown, Ohio. I actually learned a couple years ago that one of my great uncles was an owner of the Call and Post in Cleveland and Columbus. And so storytelling has just been a part of my family's legacy. And to be honest, my company that bought the root is Watering Home Media. And I started that in 2009, just a year after the root was founded. The root has been such an important part of my story and how I have informed my understanding of politics. And so when the opportunity presented itself to buy it, it was just like, how do we get it done? We need to own our platforms. We need to be able to tell our stories. And I was fortunate enough to make it happen.
I love that as soon as I saw the story, the news that you acquired the root, I was so incredibly happy because, as in news, a lot of our stories are suppressed. A lot of the stories that we put on there, a lot of the stories just are not told or not told accurately. Tell me about what you plan to prioritize in terms of editorially. What stories do you plan to bring to the forefront?
The most important thing we're going to do is tell the truth. We're going to lead with facts and honesty and data and science. And, I have a background in politics. And oftentimes when we're running campaigns and we're talking about the Black electorate, we say this thing that Black people are not a monolith. And that is the truth. And so our editorial will represent that. I love gardening and my sister loves education, and we're allowed to do that, and they should be able to read about that information. But here's the one thing I'll just say is, Isaac, you asked why I wanted to buy the root. Historically, we have always, as a people, found ways to have our space, whether it was starting our sororities and fraternities or having HBCUs where we could get an education because we've been excluded, or whether it was from Ida B. Wells to the Pullman Porters. And now in 2008, when the root was started on the election of Barack Obama, we have always found ways to overcome the moment we're in, to center the stories that need to be told. And this is the moment that we're going to be doing that in the root. So we'll be focusing on the news of the day and politics, but we also know Black culture sets American culture and ultimately sets global culture. And so we want to harness and show the best and the brightest, the struggles of our lives, but also the joy of our lives, because joy will be an act of resistance that we hope to showcase editorially as well.
Social media is a big part of distributing information. What plans do you have for the root as far as social? Because that's where really most people get their news. I'm looking forward to a root fan base page. But I definitely want to, what are your plans for social media and getting information out there to the people? Because that's where we get our news primarily these days, as legacy media tends to decline, cable media tends to decline. Everybody's in their pocket. So what are your plans for social media?
We'll be everywhere. We're going to maintain our website. We're going to have a video first approach as well as the written word, because both are essential parts to communicate. Whether it be Instagram or YouTube or TikTok, we'll have presence there. But here's the thing, technology is always evolving. And as new platforms like Fanbase, like Spill become available, we want to be there as well. Part of, I think, the call to action in this moment for the root is to meet our audience where they are. Folks have so much access to stuff, and so we should not assume that people will default to the root. We've had loyal readers for a very long time, and for that, I'm extremely grateful for them. But we have to maintain and make sure we make it easy for them to get the news and information, because, as you said, everything is everywhere and it's so fast and coming at people so much, and they can choose to go someplace else. So we're going to meet folks where they are. But here's the other thing that I think is really interesting in the root is that we also, as Black people, are communal. So we'll be on social media, but we also will be offline. We'll be in cities. There's a Route 100 gala, but they also had activations throughout the country that we hope to do as well, so that people can actually interact in person and not just on social media.
Awesome. Well, we are excited for this accomplishment. Of course, we love to watch you on CNN. Give everybody hell. I messaged you the other day about that clip, that clip that's gone around. But we'll let the root handle those conversations. You handle those conversations. Continue to do that. But I know you got to go. Congratulations to everything that you've been doing. Continued success and all that you do. And thank you for stopping by Investathon 2025.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. FOF, I call a friend of Fanbase. Candace Kelly, how are you doing?
I am doing well today, Isaac. Good to see you. Good to be here too.
I first want to thank you for having me as a guest on Not All Hood podcast. That podcast with you and Malcolm was a really special one for me. I got to say a lot of things I normally don't get to say, and I want to thank you guys for giving me your platform and the opportunity to do this, even this broadcast this evening. So thank you.
Absolutely. It was good to have you. You know, I always learn something when I am sitting down with you or I trip up on you on YouTube. You always say something that's very valuable when it comes to speech, ownership, and just being a part of the 2025 that we know now. So it was great to have you.
So you're a legal analyst, and so I know you know about the First Amendment and freedom of speech and all these things. Where do you think we are in this country with freedom of speech currently?
You know what? We are at a very crucial time. Crucial time being that what we are saying is being monitored at every turn. And this is something that constitutionally we have protections that are in place. There are guardrails that allow us to say whatever we want to say. What's happening now is that people are saying, you know, I'm going to prevent you from saying anything. And I'm also going to tell you that what you're saying, even though it's legal, is not legal. And then we're going to play this out in the court system. We're going to play this out in the media, and we're going to play it on the executive level, right? We've got the executive branch and the president involved in what we are saying. Well, guess what? The Constitution has already been written. We can say things without being prevented from saying them. But people feel like, oh my goodness, I'm so scared. This is why we have the legal system in the first place. We have a legal system so if somebody does say something that invades somebody's privacy or is defamatory, well, there are rules and guidelines that are in place for you to take someone to court. But now we're at a part where people are scared to say anything because they're afraid they're going to lose their job as a teacher. They're afraid they're going to lose their job as a firefighter or the CEO of a company. This is where we are, and folks are scared. Truth is, they do not have to be. That's how the law works. Sometimes we see it play out in a way that takes a much longer process in terms of the legal system. You do not have to be afraid. The First Amendment, which I believe in wholeheartedly, it has your back all the way.
How does that play into with the recent, I guess, takeover of social media by right-wing organizations now that look to censor free speech, and where Fanbase serves as an alternative where I'm not here to censor anybody's freedom of speech at all?
Well, listen, that is one of the things about Fanbase that I love. That's why I'm an investor, because the First Amendment rules, and you're someone that says, hey, we are not going to stop you from saying things. Granted, there are limits, right? So the professor in me wants to make sure that we know, of course, if something's obscene or if you're about to hurt someone, that's totally different. But when we are talking about the First Amendment, what the First Amendment was, their goals were, it is met by your platform at Fanbase so that people can say what they want, not be afraid of being, not only just having their post taken down, but being arrested. Let's be real. You can say things these days that you don't know whether or not it's going to be arrested or not. You know, someone was talking to me the other day. They said it's really just scary, even if you have an accent these days, to be walking down the street. What is ICE going to be doing to you? Again, that's another First Amendment issue. But to have a platform that is owned by someone that, you know, you may run into in Atlanta, right? That makes a big difference. You are accessible. You are someone that people know. You are someone that has a legacy. And I think that also makes a difference. There's a kind of a safety net that you have there where someone who looks like you is doing something that is for you. So to be a part of it is a very big deal. It's different than being on Meta. It's different than, you know, being on Twitter. It's different than being on Instagram. When you have somebody that you kind of know their history, that you understand who they are in the music world, in the world of, your social currency, I call it, is very high. It is good to have that, and you know that you're protected and you can say what you want, because a lot of people are scared. The other reason that people are scared is because they just don't know the law. They are afraid, and they just don't often have power. So what you're doing is really empowering people to say what they want, because you are not going to come down and send a quick takedown notice, and it's not going to be politically biased anyway. And that makes a difference, because the more we say, the more that we engage in dialogue with other people out there, the better we are as a community. That's how our ideas are exchanged. You know what I like? This saying that someone told me. They said, the biggest export that America has is information. And we are in an information age. And to be able to fully be involved in it and exchange ideas is very powerful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Also, thank you for being a fan-based investor. That's another thing that's extremely important. I thank you for being a fan-based investor. We have a lot here joining us this evening, and that's a huge part of what we're doing, though, as far as the raise is concerned. But I appreciate you joining us today, and at least informing the people about to not be afraid. And also, we need to take advantage of this moment in investing and owning the platform and using the platform. And so it's always great to talk to you. I appreciate you popping through today, this evening.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Can I throw in one more thing?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, I don't want to go over my time. I'm good about time, but I do want to say this, that people have also been seeing a lot of things in the media about all of these mergers, right? Whether, I think it's Sinclair and Tegna, and then there's Paramount, and then you've got the president that came in and, he got millions of dollars from Paramount because of something that was said on CBS. And all of that has been very much in the headlines, again, because what we are saying is being politicized, so that when you are able to have your own station, I call it a station, you have a station when you get on Fanbase, just like any other legacy media.
Yeah.
Because the YouTubers and people who aren't a part of legacy media, they have a huge voice out there, and it is more than competing with the legacy ABCs and NBCs that we know. So when you are on Fanbase, you are able to have a broadcast, not a narrowcast. I think that narrowcast is what we are seeing on ABC, NBC, right? We know that they have a certain period of time. They have to meet certain deadlines. They've got bigwigs and the FCC over them in a way that you're not going to have on Fanbase. And I think that also makes a difference. And I want people to understand that this platform is something that they can take advantage of and have a voice that is as powerful as any other legacy media that is out there.
Thank you. Where can we find you on Fanbase? What's your Fanbase username so everybody can follow you?
All right, so there's going to be two places. You got to go to Not All Hood, all right? You also have to go to Candace Kelly TV. And I also think that Not All Hood may be _all hood. They're going to get me, Isaac. But look, help me out and post on this. But Google Not All Hood on Fanbase, and then also Candace Kelly TV. We would love to have you following us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming through this evening, and much love as always. I'll see you the next time you're back in Atlanta.
All right, we'll do.
All right, thank you.
Hi, my name is Ava Medina. I am the publicist for Fanbase and Isaac Hayes III. In my role, I help to amplify culture-driven stories that drive ownership and impact. It is a very inspiring place to be as I watch Isaac and our team evolve the app to its ultimate functionality. Our Investathon is not just about fundraising. It's a reminder that our ownership is invaluable and we've lent it to the world, and now it's time for us to claim it for ourselves. Continue enjoying Investathon, download Fanbase, and be you without limits.
Welcome back to Investathon 2025 for Fanbase. I am now joined by Miss A.B. Burns Tucker, a attorney, activist, influencer, creator, phenomenal Black woman joining us today, who's actually been on our podcast before, but I wanted her to come to Investathon today because a lot has changed even since we had our last conversation, which is about the era of social media and ownership. And so you are a TikTok user, an Instagram user. I first want to ask you, how do you feel about this new acquisition of TikTok? And have you seen any changes in the platform so far?
So if I'm being honest, I don't know how I feel yet, right? I'm still waiting to sort of have the open conversations about what this is going to look like for us as TikTok users. I know there's a lot of concerns about it. I've been focused on other things happening in government right now, to be quite frank. So I'm interested in seeing how this affects our use of TikTok moving forward. But I know like a lot of people are concerned about who's taking over it, especially considering that the right seems to own every media source that, you know, we're able to utilize right now. It's a little scary.
So what do you think about media ownership in general? Because I know we've had ICE run up in Chicago and pull Black children out of their apartment buildings, but I haven't seen it on any media site. And so, you know, how do we, you know, get our stories out if the platforms that we are supposed to trust and use and know about what's going on in our community don't show us what's going on in our community?
Well, I think it goes to the point of like, we need ownership and we need more equity in the sources and the platforms that we're using, right? Without that control and without, you know, our voices being heard on what is needed in our communities, we're just never going to get the information that we need. I think that's been one of the benefits of social media is that, you know, for those individuals who didn't get their information and their news from other sources, they could tap into their favorite creators. But now that we're seeing the manipulation that is happening with these algorithms, right? Now that we're seeing who's actually dominating and owning these platforms, we're seeing our voices be drained out more and more. So I think that is why it's important. I think Jasmine Crockett mentioned something about this where, you know, she mentioned that Democrats, for example, weren't even on social media, let alone did they own platforms, right? And now you see the opposition, right, owning platforms. Not only are they on the airs all day, every day, and like flooding us with information, the information that they want people to receive, but they are owning these platforms. And so because they own these platforms, they get to put out the information that they want the audience to hear. And so therein lies the issue with us, you know, getting the little tidbits about what happened in Chicago, and yet the airwaves are flooded with things like, how much time is Diddy gonna get tonight?
Or Cardi B and Nicki Minaj. Exactly.
Nicki Minaj. Right.
So,
you know,
so let me ask you this. You were recently in DC for CBC week. Was there any conversation about media ownership during that week at all?
So let me be clear that there were a lot of different panels that happened. So I couldn't confirm or deny whether those conversations happened formally, excuse me. Because again, there were so many panels and the ones that I went to weren't necessarily geared towards tech, but the conversations were had in smaller circles I was in. Let me say that. And so I think there is this awareness, you know, especially with the acquisition of TikTok right now, there is this awareness that we are losing. And everyone wants to talk about the messaging war and stuff like that. But it's like, you can't have a messaging war if you don't have the resources to get your message out. So I think that needs to be a broader conversation because I just don't feel like we can trust a lot of the media sources that we have right now. I mean, they are capitulating to what is happening in big government. And we're seeing them bend the knee every which way. And then we're also seeing what stories and what creators get highlighted on these different platforms, right? You have creators that aren't perhaps giving news, and either the news is not accurate or they're not giving you, you know, an accurate analysis, for example, to help the audience actually understand what's going on. But because of the entertainment aspect of it, it is pushed out in the masses. And so now people think they are informed, but they're really not. They're just being entertained. And so I think we need to be mindful of things like that too. But yeah, going back to the original question, the conversation we had the conversation in smaller circles that I was in, but I'm not sure if there was there are any panels specific to media ownership.
So what do you think, what role, because, you know, we were talking about Fanbase the last time we were together, like what role do you think platforms, Black-owned platforms like Fanbase can do to help our message as Black people and Black creators? Like, what do you think we could be doing, or what position should Fanbase be taking in this new era?
Yeah, I mean, I think continue to push the idea of fan base, right? Like you and I, we got to have some one-on-one time where you showed me the platform, and all the things that it can do. And I have been happily sharing that with other creators in the space that I'm in. And I think, of course, yeah. But I think it's about like broadening the horizon and knowing that there is a space for us, right? But I think it's really important that we do buy into a Black media space, right? We need a platform by us, for us, that highlights our voices. Point blank, period. That is not biased against our skin tones. That is not biased against our messaging, right? That is giving us a active and a fair and even platform and space to communicate to our audience. And I think that's where Fanbase comes in. So I say that Fanbase need to continue to do what it do, right? Continue to get donations, get donors, investors, whatever need to be done. Continue to promo, because it's going to come a time. Investors, there we go. Investors, my bad. My bad. But continue to get investors to pull up and support the platform, because we're going to have a space. And I think that it's good that the platform is rolling out now, right? That people are more and more like finding out about it and buying into it now, because we got to do it before it's too late, right? We cannot wait until they completely take over TikTok and then we just not allowed to be on TikTok no more for whatever reason, right? To decide we want to join a fan base, right? Because that is too late then. We have to start investing in this now. And I think it's more, it's a responsibility to us too, as creators and messengers, to make sure that we have an active space for us to continue to communicate to our audiences with. We can't, ain't nobody coming to save us. So we're going to have to save ourselves, and Fanbase is going to be one of the ways that we save ourselves.
So I've asked this question a couple times this evening, that about 4 or 5 men own about 98% of the media in the country right now. When you think of Instagram, when you think of X, when you think of Paramount Global, and now TikTok and Meta and Instagram, how do you feel about such a small group of people owning social media platforms?
I think that is scary and we should be scared. We should be concerned about that. Like, that is a monopoly in its finest, right? That is a monopoly on the freedom of speech, right? That is a monopoly on equality and equity, quite frankly, right? And we need to be concerned about 4 people dominating the airwaves on what we can say, how we say it, and who gets to hear it, right? Recognizing that other dictatorships and authoritarian regimes took over media and press, right? Mm-hmm. In order to suppress messaging and keep people in bondage, right? Mentally and physically, quite frankly. So we should be concerned about that, and we should not allow that. In a country where we should have freedom of speech, how free are we if 4 people are in control of how we speak, when we speak, and who gets to hear what we say?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that's, when we first founded the company, I always say Fanbase was something that I wanted you to disrupt just mainstream media with regard to TV, film, music, stuff like that. But now it's looking more as a resource of communication that's necessary especially for Black people, because I feel like, we're shut out and we don't really have the opportunity to own our narrative in a way that allows us to communicate effectively. So Fanbase is an emergency. I think that's really one of the things that we're expressing during this this broadcast, this special, because the 2 people that I wanted to talk to the most were content creators and media, like icons, or people in media that have been forced out of media and not able to kind of have that conversation. And so what do you think is next for you personally as a content creator? What are you doing to prepare in the event that things happen? Are you doing any type of preparation? Because I always tell people you should use other platforms, but are you preparing? Because I told people today, I said on this other show, I said, back up your black up, like with Fanbase. You got to back up your black. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? So what are you doing to kind of prepare in the event, just in case?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm one of quite a few creators who, I scaled to different platforms pretty early. So I'm grateful that, my audience is dispersed amongst the different social media platforms, which is good. I think like having a mailing list, having your own mailing list is also very important, so that you can directly reach your audience when necessary, because, we've seen these apps crash before, for example, right? And it is devastating. I'm one person who early on, when I first went viral and my platform was growing, like someone had actually stole access to my Instagram account, and I was locked out of my account for months, right? So I know how devastating it could be to like lose that audience. So I think it's really about making sure you scale out to other platforms. That's one thing I've done. Have a mailing list. I have my own website, legallyhype.com, right? So you gotta have, you gotta own something. You have to own something of your own. Like, we are leasing space on these platforms, right? Like, we are leasing this real estate. You have to have your own asset. So that's why investing in platforms like Fanbase, being able to do that, right, is valuable. That's why having your own mailing list is valuable. That is why having your own website is valuable, because you have ownership. And that is important. I think that's what we've been lacking. So that's one way I've been trying to just scale out, and just protect myself if things do go awry. And yeah, I'm gonna just do what I do from there.
Well, good. I mean, where can people find you? Because I want people to, be able to find you on all socials. I know your handle on Fanbase, but tell everybody where they can find you and keep up with you.
Yeah. So my handle is the same across all social media platforms. It's I am legally hype, and that's on Fanbase, Instagram, YouTube, all of whatever you use, you can find me on I am legally hype. And then you can also go to my website, legallyhype.com.
Awesome. I want to thank you for keeping us aware and keeping us not distracted with rappers fighting and all that kind of stuff while real things are taking place in the country. You are a treasure and a valuable asset to our people and the fight in which we have for democracy. So I thank you for freedom of speech very, very much. I thank you for joining us, and continue success and blessings. And we're so glad to have you on Fanbase 4. Thank you, everybody. This is A.B. Burns Tucker. We're going to be seeing more of her at Fanbase for sure. But thank you very much.
Thank you. And I'll be keeping y'all distracted too, but it's all in good fun.
Absolutely. All right. Bye-bye.
Hi everybody, my name is Lauren and I'm currently the product owner at Fanbase. Thank you so much for joining us at our Investathon today. We truly value your time, your engagement, and your commitment to our shared mission and vision for the product, its future, and its future successes. We truly appreciate any contributions that you make to us during this time. In my role at Fanbase, I'm in control of a lot of things. I have a lot of responsibilities in making sure that the product operates efficiently, smoothly, and reliably to create a really great home for all of you out there. I have a lot of really cool product improvements and updates that are on the roadmap, and you might have already seen a few of them go live in the app, fingers crossed. But if you haven't gotten a chance to check it out and download it, go to your app store for whatever OS you have, try it out, play around, and leave us some feedback. I hope to see you in Zendesk.
To Investathon 2025, I am joined now by a Black icon, a Black legend in the world of media and journalism. Everybody welcome Mr. Don Lemon to Investathon 2025. How you doing, man?
I'm great. I was looking around like, who is this legend? Who is this icon? Come on, man. Thank you.
There are very few.
Received that.
There are very few Black voices in media, and you are like one of the top ever. Like, you one of the GOATs, and so I appreciate you coming and talking about media today. I really wanted to have this conversation about Black media. I want you to talk about what this journey has been like from you post mainstream media.
Well, you know how they say you find out who your real friends are, right?
Oh,
And right, and you really do. And I find that your real friends come from your family, and I have luckily been able to um, I don't know if I want to say amass or acquire or gather a really strong fan base of a group of diverse fans. But my fan base I think the heart of my fan base is like the church ladies, the church hat wearing ladies, who watched me on CNN and followed me here, and the deacons in the church or whatever, just very loyal people who understand how important it is to have Black voices. And now, since this is sort of a socially forward, a front-facing social era that we're in, especially with media, so right now I'm in everybody's pockets on everybody's phones, and now my fan base is younger. But it is a diverse group of people, but I think the majority of my base is African Americans, and mainly women for me, and which is great for advertisers. So the journey for me has been one where I found out who my true friends, who my true supporters are, what my true real, the OGs, the ride or dies are. And it's also been eye-opening and challenging. I say that it's daunting, it's exhilarating and daunting all at the same time. And so I'm happy that I'm in this space. I think I left corporate media at the exact right time, and I'm really excited about where we're going. Even though I wake up and I sit in front of a camera and a computer at 8 a.m. and I don't leave until almost 8 p.m., I'm excited about the future, and I enjoy doing it. I'm happy to do it because it's mine, and I love this new era of media that we're in.
Yeah, I like this Don Lemon curses. and he gets to speak his mind, and it's like, I think a big part of the conversation that I've been having is the migration from legacy television, which I think is on the decline, into being in everyone's.
You know it's on the decline. Come on, Isaac, you know it's on the decline. I mean,
I know, but
all you gotta do is look at the numbers and look at the numbers. No, let me give you I'm sorry, I don't mean to take over this interview, but you did say I was an OG. Let me give you your flowers for what you're doing at Fanbase, and actually being a pioneer in showing people by example what is needed in this moment, and that is ownership in these social spaces and digital spaces by Black people, by African Americans. And so I want to give you your flowers for that. So thank you for doing this, and thank you for leading the way. And I tell you, if I didn't work so hard, I'd do more with Fanbase, but I'm trying to build my base, and we're doing it together. So I'm here with you. I wish I could do more. I wish there were like 3 of me, but there's not. So I just wanted to tell you that. I'm sorry.
We're gonna help you. One of the things that this era is seeing is the erosion of free speech. We've seen what happened with Jimmy Kimmel. Why do you think it is so important now that we start building community outside of social in a way that, outside of mainstream media, that we can own? What's the importance of that? What's the urgency in that?
Look, I went on to NBC the other day, onto MSNBC, and I only do it if it's a friend, if someone because it's just not worth it. I get very little feedback when I appear on corporate media. If I go on cable news, it's like, was I even on? But when when I come on my show, I'm sure on your show, then you get tons of feedback. And so what I realized, because they played clips from me, Isaac, from when I was there, and when I used to fill in the early 2000s, 2001 or 2002 on MSNBC, and they played all these NBC clips, and I was like, man, I haven't seen that. Man, that's in their archives. I don't own any of that shit, right? And then I go onto CNN, and they'll play a clip from me. I don't own any of that shit. And guess what? Many of the stories that I did, or the obituaries, interviewed people, they just cut me right out, because I don't own any of that. So basically, if you go on CNN, it's as if I never existed, because they own it. And if they want to erase you, then they erase you. But in these spaces, no one can erase me but me. And so I own my own material. And so to answer your question, it is important that Black people have ownership in themselves, that we own our own IPs, that we own, that we are out in front in this business. And don't get me started on AI. We really need to get on top of that as well. But it's important to have, because look at the mainstream corporate media now. It's all conglomerated. It's all conglomerates, and they're consolidating conservative media. Look at what's happening with Paramount and what Ellison is doing. He's going to have CBS. He is Paramount. He is probably going to buy CNN, and so they're going to and have a part in TikTok. And if they want to erase us and cut us out, they'll be able to do it. So we need to make sure that doesn't happen. And we need to be in community with each other. That's the only way it's going to make a difference. So the Jimmy Kimmel thing showed people what the power of the dollar is. And so I say the only color they care about, they don't really care about black and white. They care about green.
Yeah.
And so their money is your money. And when people stopped giving their money to them, then they said, oh, we need to bring Jimmy Kimmel back. So we need to stop giving our money to them and give it to our folks and invest it in our folks. And then maybe they'll realize how important we are and they won't try to erase us. That's it.
We're segueing into the part that I think there's only like 4 or 5 of the richest men in the world own like 98% of the media now, which is crazy.
Crazy.
It's very, very scary. It's funny because I saw some people posting about this today, and it was some guys that I said, I told you guys this is coming, and that we don't take the opportunity to uplift our own voices in ways that we can build community and culture in places that I feel like allow us to have our own voice. This is a very, very important moment. So, and again, right-wing media owning the TikToks of the world. I don't know how much you use TikTok, but for the youth and to be able to silence messages and silence the agenda of individuals that have things to say that may not align with the administration or the owners of the platform. This is the urgency in building up Fanbase, building up other social media platforms, you building your platforms. What are you doing to do your part as far as creating with your show? Because I watch you all the time. It's great. You're out in the street. You're working harder than I've ever seen anybody work to do what you're doing, and you're fearless about it. So what are you doing in this space to kind of leave your mark and separate yourself?
One, at the end of the day, I'm just trying to be successful, right? I'm just trying to survive and have a successful business and platform. But what I try to do is I try to collaborate with as many people as possible, and I try to collaborate with a diverse group of people, and especially people of color. So if you will watch my program, many times you'll see, Black people, like you'll see today, if we had the Diddy verdict, you'll see Simone Redwine, or you see Monique Presley, who's on all the time on the program, or you'll see a Charles Coleman. And I think that many times from these conversations, Black voices are missing. But also I have Asian voices like Katie Fang on, because I think it's important to have a diverse group of people. But so I want to make sure that we have diversity and from very smart people. And I find that especially as it relates to culture, our folks know everything about the culture. And so that's what to lead my legacy is to giving other people a platform and a chance to be able to grow their brands and their platforms as well. I don't want to be someone who takes from, uses people's talent and not give back. I see that a lot of people do that. I'm not that person. If you come on my program, I'm gonna gas you up. I'm gonna gas up what you do. I'm gonna promote what you do. I've offered people to be contributors on the program to get them started, and then once they get started, they do their own thing. So that's what I want to be. I want to be an asset to the folks who are coming up behind me, and I think that's my biggest contribution. Like you said, I'm the OG. Okay, fine. That just makes me feel old, but I'll take that. and then also, I got to tell you, Charles Blow, right? From the New York Times. Charles Blow is a brother, and also, has been on the program. And I saw him the other night and he said, you're the dean of all this. And I said, what are you talking about? He goes, you're the dean of this new media. Like everyone is watching your transition to see what you do in order to figure out what they're going to do next. And I said, wow. And so if I can just provide somewhat of a roadmap for people, then I'm cool with that.
Yeah, you're doing that. I mean, you're doing that, and you're doing, again, you're doing your version, and your voice is necessary. What's going on in Chicago, I noticed that I have not seen that on anywhere in the media. And again, I think that one of the things that Tamisha and I were talking about was that how urgent Fanbase is as a place for Black people to communicate what's going on. If ICE is switching the narrative from talking about we're going to get illegals and now we're pulling African-American people out of their homes, that is the urgency of, I guess, owning a platform or having a platform like Fanbase. And it's at this time, it seemed, maybe a few years ago, it seemed like social media was fun, but now everybody's realizing the tool that it is to mass communicate in real time. And in our version of the Underground Railroad or urgency to get messages out, I would want to hear your thoughts on how utilizing media platforms like Fanbase can serve in getting a wider message out. And we know it's going to be hard to get these messages out on these legacy apps.
I only get feedback from social media now. And so it's not that social media is the future. Social media is the now. And for someone, and for Fanbase, right, which is really, it's more about experts than it is really just about creators, right? And offering, Black folks a space to become creators if they want, or experts, or a place for them to show their expertise and their abilities. That's important, because if you look at, it's all about algorithms. You know this, Isaac.
Yeah.
It's all about algorithms, and algorithms are as biased or not biased or unbiased as the people who program them.
Correct.
And so how do I answer this? I want to answer this with an example. If you look at what happened with TikTok, when TikTok really became, at its zenith, because I think it's declined somewhat over the last couple of months, was during COVID. And so people were sitting at home, they were watching videos, they were doing whatever, and they were doing all these dances. All of these dances had been, most of them, if not all of them, had been created by Black dancers, Black creators. And then the kids that came along who were imitating them, or just mimicking their dancing and their choreography, got all the money from it because they got all the views, because the algorithm is what? Created.
Yeah.
Yeah. The algorithm is created and biased. It's created around them. The algorithm favors them. And so in this space, the algorithm doesn't favor, a certain group of people. It is a fair algorithm. And it also understands that, especially the culture, entertainment, fashion, or whatever, it's Black culture. All of this, American culture is Black culture. You go all over the world and you see American culture, which is Black culture. People wearing Jordans all over the world. You may like yay or not, or ye or not. People are wearing Yeezys all over the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People are listening to Beyonce all over the world. People are listening to Isaac Hayes Sr. all over the world. That's Black culture. That's American culture. So in order to, I think, to profile that, you need a Black platform, a Black owned platform to do that. And then once that is established, I think, and galvanized, then people will say, you know what, I don't need to go to that other platform. I can go to this Black platform. I can make money there. I can become a creator. I can have revenue share there. And so I hope that we get to that point. We are at that point, but I hope we get to a point soon where, I don't have to go to all the other platforms. I could just come to something like Fanbase, and boom, that's it.
We're going to get there. I think
I certainly wouldn't work, as so hard.
we're going to get there. I think, part of what we've done this year is actually work on our recommendation engine, our version of an algorithm. And our algorithm is all the way DEI. It's like, it's inclusive of all people. That's what, this whole journey and process has been about. It's building something inclusive, but that recognizes Black people, because we do get economically cut out of what our creations. We invent something, then somebody cops it, they exploit it, they make all the money from it, and then we complain after the fact. And so my version of trying to cut that off is building the infrastructure of the ownership of social media so that people can actually own the company and also monetize their content, which now everybody's starting to do. And we see like Kai Cenat and all these other people starting to monetize, and that's really the future. So you're one of those individuals that are leading that. I thank you for joining us and providing an opportunity for you to share your experience in Black media. How can we support you and what you're doing? And at the same time, I know we're gonna get you. We're gonna do something special with you on Fanbase. I'm gonna hit you about it. But we're gonna do something special with you in audio. In the audio spaces, we have these amazing audio rooms, Don, that can reach millions of people, right, without even having to download the app. And so town halls, really great, amazing conversations that can jump the limits of having to download an app just to hear you talk and really get the word out is really what I want to talk to you about doing that, because that's going to be very important. So
I want to have a meeting with me, you, and my head of social media so we can figure out how to help each other.
Awesome. Thank you. We will help each other. I appreciate you for stopping by Investathon. We will follow your journey and support your journey.
YouTube, the Don Lemon Show on YouTube, Don Lemon Official on Instagram, and then Don Lemon everywhere else that you get streaming and social media.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you very, very much.
Thank you, Isaac. You be well, okay? Have a blessed day.
You too. Welcome back to Investathon 2025. We are joined now by the legend, the leader, Pastor Jamal Bryant. How are you doing, my guy?
Man, I am super excited to be connected to you and to be connected to Fanbase and to be a part of an amazing moment in history for the culture.
Thank you. I've been watching you probably for the past year put the Black community on your back. You're stepping up in a way that I think we needed as far as leadership. I text you from time to time and let you know that, but if no one has told you, I think that you're doing an amazing job. I really appreciate what you're doing, and I want to acknowledge that first before anything. If nobody's told you, I'm telling you, thank you for your leadership, your service, and what you're doing for the Black community.
It means more coming from Isaac Hayes III, so I'm grateful.
Oh man!
And I'm glad that both of us are really doing what I think that we were born to do in terms of equality. You're doing it in technology, and I'm trying to do it in the economy. And I think that there's a conflation of both of those where we're able to come together. And I think that's why we're able to link up.
For sure. So I know, like right now, we're in an interesting time as a company when it comes to social media and free speech. And I wanted to get your thoughts on what I feel like is an attack on Black people, Black culture, especially the ability to communicate in the way that we need to communicate, especially in times with like DEI or, people running up into buildings in Chicago, stuff like that. Like, I want to know your thoughts and what we need to be doing to communicate and stay connected.
There is nobody who out-communicates Black people. Black people made Twitter.
Yep.
Black people made Instagram. We're just muting our voices. Fred Hampton said we're not outnumbered, we're out-organized. And so I think that we got to strategically figure out how do we amplify our voice for what it is that we're going through. Right now, while I'm talking to you, I am giving groceries, Isaac, to 1,000 Georgians who've been furloughed by the government. Now, here's what's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I just announced it yesterday. And when I got to the church, there were 539 cars on the campus.
Wow.
I announced it yesterday. 539 cars on the campus. I didn't open till 9 a.m. Here's what's amazing. They found out because I posted it.
Yeah.
Not on radio, not on television. So we got to figure out how do we mobilize. Here's what's significant is 100,000 people have been furloughed just in Georgia alone. I know Fanbase is nationwide and global, but 100,000 just in Georgia. What if we used Fanbase for all of the passes in Georgia to begin to strategize? What if we begin to really do focus groups because of what we're seeing in real time in Chicago on Fanbase right now should be the leaders from Memphis talking to the leaders in Chicago to say, hey, what are y'all doing? What should we be looking for? That we don't just take it from clips, but we take it on the ground. And so we know how to communicate. We just don't know how to communicate to each other effectively.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, Fanbase does have, I've always talked about the audio rooms on Fanbase and the ability that we can communicate in real time and organize. I think that's an amazing tool that I feel like we don't use enough or take for granted. But interestingly enough, that sets us apart. About 98% of all the media in this country is owned by 4 or 5 people. When you think about Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and now Larry Ellison, who has Paramount, Oracle, and now TikTok. What do you think about media ownership and why we need Black media ownership and why that's so important?
Yeah, I think that the Sinclair family found a very valuable lesson. Most recently, when Jimmy Kimmel was taken off of the air because of remarks that he made around Charlie Kirk, they took him off. Disney lost Isaac $3.4 billion in a weekend. And by that Tuesday, he was back on the air. Mm-hmm. The Sinclair family said, I don't care what Disney says. There's a whole lot of local markets we're not going to put them on. But what was significant and strategic is that they didn't realize that nobody's looking at linear television anymore. His numbers are higher than they ever been, but because of streaming. But Isaac, let's go back a different way. Flags went half-mast. The Senate had a moment of silence. They're talking about a day of memorial. Forget everything else. Isaac, drum roll, for a podcaster. No matter where you feel about Charlie Kirk, he is not an elected official. He's not a general in the military. At the bottom line, he's a podcaster. So those of you who don't understand the power and the influence of what streaming and streaming capacity can do, then look at Charlie Kirk as the test tube baby. Last year, he was able to amass $48 million, and he's not on ABC, not on CBS, not on CNN, not on Fox. Did it all digitally. So I'm going to ask a question to the community. Where's the Black Charlie Kirk? I'm not asking you where your politics are, whether you left or right, but that is talking about using a platform to our advantage, and from doing it online is how you got Turning Point. Mm-hmm. Turning Point is built online. And so what it is that we talk about, and Isaac, we deal with the whole diaspora of issues. But imagine if what Turning Point did for Israel, Black platforms can do for the Congo. Black platforms can raise it for Sudan. Black platforms can do it for what's happening in Haiti. Black platforms can do that for our brothers and sisters, Palestinians. And so we've got to enlarge it around the conversation on who Cardi B is beefing with today. There's a whole lot more than how much time is Diddy getting. And we got to figure out how do we use these platforms to really strengthen, equip, empower, and inform. Knowledge is power. And the Bible says our people are dying from a lack of knowledge.
Wow. So that is a fact, and some bars in there. When raising capital for Fanbase, the two things that I thought were very important is allowing people to invest in the platform and have equity and have ownership. And you are a Fanbase investor. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yes. Thank you. But also the ability to, own something and communicate with our people, but then own something that these platforms scale to hundreds and billions of dollars. And so what do you think about the importance of ownership in media, especially Black media, when we have such a massive footprint on social media, the effect that we have on the culture, and investing and owning social media that we've never really done this before. We've never really said, all right, let's take social media, the infrastructure of social media, and own it. And now we can monetize it on the front end and have equity on the back end. How important do you think that is?
It's so critical, and I'm glad that you're doing it. And I want to talk backwards to family. 82% of Black people, those of you all listening, write this down. 82% of Black people don't own a single share of stock. 82%. So when you're talking, Isaac, about investing, you are talking alien Aramaic to people who don't even understand it. So the reason why it's so critical for those of you all who are listening, that you are breaking generational cycles of poverty in your family, because for many of you, you will be the very first stockholder in your family. So when we're talking about generational wealth, you got to think about how it is that we move it. I used this example, Isaac, the other day at New Birth about Barry Gordy. He was starting Motown and no bank would give him a loan. He had a family meeting and shared with his family what the idea was, where he saw the trends in music going, and his family invested in Motown when banks wouldn't. And here's where I need you all to get excited, family. All of Barry Gordy's family who invested became millionaires. Here's the shout. None of them sing. None of them dance. None of them mix. None of them produce. But they invested. And I'm saying that because when you invest in Fanbase, you don't have to be a podcaster. You don't have to be a social media influencer. All you have to do is be somebody who sees the vision and understands. I've read this story about the first day that Disney World opened in Orlando. When Disney World opened in Orlando, the wife of Walt Disney was interviewed by the reporter from the Orlando Sentinel. And Walt Disney had died 6 months before Disney World opened. And the reporter asked of her, what do you think Walt Disney would say if he was able to see this? And she said, Isaac, he did see it. That's why this is opening.
Wow.
Those of you all who are investing, when it is that Fanbase is able to eclipse the social media platform that you are on right now, unborn generations in your family are going to ask you, did you see this happening? And because you were an investor, you're able to say, I did see it. I did see it. That's why it's able to happen. And so I want you to see, because a lot of Black people are skittish about investing because we got trust issues when it comes to finance and comes to money. This brother has built this on his blood, sweat, tears, and his back. And he ain't going nowhere. He is not in witness protection. He's not coming to you from Cuba. He coming to you from the SWATs. He getting it out the mud. So this is a viable option and opportunity. This is what old Jewish people do. This isn't racist. This is a fact. Old Jewish people bought their children stock for Christmas. Yeah. How would you all's family life change if going into this house, because you already ain't supposed to be in Target no way. So what you gonna do with that money, y'all say? What y'all gonna do with that money? I want to challenge you, really. I want to challenge you to invest, but don't just invest for you, invest for your kids. Miles Monroe said the best ideas are in the cemetery because most people die with their idea. They never live to see them happen. I want to live to see Fanbase as a real commodity for the community that takes us to the next level.
I'm affirmative in that. I claim that every single day. You know, that's why, you know what I'm saying? That's why we're here now. I've been working really, really hard on this. And, you know, I'm watching things right now with AI that are using the likeness and image of Black icons like Dr. King, like Michael Jackson, like Tupac.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, that's ownership in IP. Even in the world of AI, there's a value there that we all have digitally online, and we need to protect that And I don't stand for that. I mean, my father is an icon in his own right. I don't want people taking his image and his voice and making videos out of it without our permission and using that. That's highly, highly questionable. What do you feel about that? And where do you think we're going with AI and protecting, our culture?
The dear brother Van Jones said a statement I disagree with. He said AI is the only opportunity Black people have for reparations. I don't think it's our only opportunity, but I do think it is an opportunity. This summer, Isaac, I shut down Vacation Bible School. Those of y'all that grew up in the church, Vacation Bible School, summer camp that church has for kids, I shut it down and said, these Black kids ain't going to be coloring Noah's Ark. They're going to be learning coding and robotics. And I brought in 175 kids to learn AI. It is the wave of the future. I read an article in Newsweek, y'all should go look it up, on Black people will be the most adversely impacted because of AI in service industry jobs. And so we've got to figure out how do we train and how do we get a trade. This is a critical moment with, I don't even know how many people are furloughed by the government. But the other missing integer is how many Black people are going to be impacted because they got contractual jobs. And so when it is that you have AI, you're able to curate your own future and curate your own path. I was just outside, as I said a moment ago, giving out groceries to these families. And one of my staff said, we haven't seen this kind of number since the heart of the pandemic. And we are in a pandemic. 300,000 Black women have lost their jobs since April. We now in October. And the fastest group to get jobs is white men. Y'all, come on, you got to get up and shake yourself. We falling asleep at the wheel. Rip Van Winkle is back. But if we don't get aboard this AI train, I think that we're going to miss an amazing opportunity.
What are we missing in our community about coming together and supporting each other? Because we can move. This is something that I'm going to tell you that you might not have known. And you probably do know. After the election last year, when Trump won, 25 million people downloaded Blue Sky in 90 days. And from that period, it made the app worth $700 million in less than 90 days. And what are we missing as Black people to say, everybody Black in the country, that here's your voice, here's my voice, just go download Fanbase. But before you do, invest, and then watch the value of something that you invested in increase just by doing that, investing and downloading.
I'm triggered because we were just talking about Disney. It took them 3 days. Yeah. I've been stomping the yard around Target around 7 months. And I still got rappers in there doing videos.
Yeah.
I still got influencers running down the aisle. And so disunity is killing more of us than crack cocaine did in the 80s. if we would just walk together, we would be able to really turn the tide. And this shouldn't even be an issue. Isaac, when we was growing up, it used to be the Lou Rawls Telethon for the United Negro College Fund. It used to be Labor Day weekend.
100%.
Yeah. That's how we know a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Wasn't no memes back then. We knew it through a telethon.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that this telethon will catch on wildfire and really move through it. And regrettably, we only come around each other in unity around crisis. Somebody got to die. Somebody got to get shot.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, we're dying from a lack of knowledge. We're dying because we don't have skin in the game. And Fanbase begins to turn that tide for all of us.
Wow. Well, I want to thank you for joining us this evening. I appreciate you as always. I got something we're going to do for you, because I think you have another town hall coming up, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep.
Okay, and we're going to air that. We're going to air that town hall as a watch party on Fanbase Live. So when is that? When is that town hall?
Coming soon.
Okay.
Stand by.
Okay.
Stand by. We are trying to get some real stakeholders here.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, like our sister Jasmine Crockett can't leave the Hill right now. But I need people like her at the table in order for this to happen. So as soon as the smoke and the fog lifts, then I'm coming back around the mountain.
For sure. All right. Well, Well, thank you for joining us again. I appreciate your service, what you do for our community. You are a true Black leader. This is what Black leadership looks like. And I want to thank you for joining us. And I'll talk to you soon.
We in it together. Love you, brother. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Hey guys, my name is Mario Andre. I'm the digital media editor here at Fanbase. You guys seen some really cool in-app notifications when you guys open up the app. That's some design work that I do. I also do the newsletters, graphic design, all that cool stuff that you see here at Fanbase. Hope you guys have a great Investathon. Have a good one.
Welcome back to Investathon 2025. I'm back with Tamisha Harris. Tamisha, we've been watching everybody, join us this evening. When you came to me, you said that Fanbase was an emergency. It needed to be our underground railroad. Like, what did you mean by that?
So when I came to you, I've been in news for over 15 years, and our job as producers, our job is to make sure you have the information you need. And when I saw that the information that my community needed was not being reported, it was being silenced. For me, I said, okay, I was scared, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
I was scared because I said, oh, wait a minute, this is information that these people that we really need to know. And then I began to think, how do I get this information to you guys? Because that's my job. Without it being softened, without the language being softened. So what you're saying, and when I said this needs to be our underground railroad, when I said Fanbase is an emergency, you see, this was 2 months ago I said this to you. What you're seeing right now in Chicago and Memphis and Portland, that's what I was talking about. When we need to get information, we can't, and I feel like I'm sounding like a broken record.
Yeah.
We cannot afford to be silenced. And this is new territory for us because we have benefited from our forefathers being in the fight for us. And we've benefited for years, for decades from the civil rights movement. But now is our time. And what that means is you cannot afford to scroll. You have to close your pocketbooks. You have to, but before you do, invest in Fanbase. And here's why. We're talking about investing in Fanbase, but here's why this is so critical for us. Because we need a place to organize. We need a place to be able to get information to you, so so that you won't find your family, your kids zip tied. That's important. That you have a place you can go to and get the real information, because you saw what was going on in Chicago in Bites. But that story should have been on every single news channel.
Let's pause right there. Let's
Yes.
talk about that.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what we're talking about. It's like you haven't seen one video of a Black child being zip tied on any social media platform. And I said this before, but when there was an assassination of a young white man, that video was everywhere.
Yeah.
And we know on social media that when they don't want you to see something gory or graphic, it gets pulled down immediately.
Yeah.
So when I'm looking at videos right now of, I haven't seen any children zip tied. I haven't seen any of these videos that are talking about what's going on with Black people, but I see
where they're separating Black people on one side of the one paddy wagon and brown people on the other
side.
Immigrants. Like, these are things that the witnesses are telling us happened. Why do we not see these witnesses on TV telling the stories. This should be on every single network, the top story, the headline. We should be getting it from different angles. We should have reporters on the ground, not just local reporters, but national reporters on the ground in Chicago right now, in Portland right now, in Memphis right now, and wherever wherever the administration is saying, oh, this is where we're going next. Get the reporters on the ground now. We have the resources. Where are they?
Yeah.
And so that's why I say, now wait a minute, Fanbase is an emergency because we have to get this information to you. This is not about oh, well, you know, this is Fanbase, how is it going to help me? And you know, I don't want to invest because I'm going to make whoever. No, this is about your life. This is a silent killer. It's like carbon monoxide.
Mhm.
It's colorless, it's tasteless, it's odorless. And what's happening is it's happening in your algorithm and you don't see it. You're not going to see it until it's time for you to speak. Until it's time for you to breathe and you don't have oxygen.
Yeah.
That's when you're going to feel it. That's when you're going to say, oh, wait a minute. How do I tell my family in the Bronx that such and such is happening? How do I tell my family in San Francisco? How do I tell my family in South Carolina? You can't. Or how do I let people know this is what's going on? We have to have fan base. That's what I mean by Underground Railroad.
And what I you know what I say about that is we haven't seen any of these trauma situations that have happened to us, but I definitely saw people making memes of Martin Luther King using AI and Michael Jackson running around with fried chicken and Tupac and Biggie and Malcolm X, and that stuff can flow freely.
Yeah.
That our icons can be mocked and made a mockery of, but the real information that's affecting us is not getting to you and not being seen. I've seen things with AI in the last week that I already understand that there's going to be a separation between like people that want to live in the matrix and people that don't. And I think people are going to want to be on platforms where there's reality, where there's real things happening. I don't want to see a bunch of content that's just made up of AI videos and it's not really what's going on in the world, when you can just manufacture something, or even when those platforms are used to generate videos that are not true, or stereotypes of Black people, or stereotypes of people are committing crimes, and then those are fed through the algorithm. People don't understand the game that's being played right now on these larger platforms, and why conservatives have captured all these platforms and started to own them. And so it's extremely urgent.
It's extremely urgent.
I'm glad that you know, you're here.
Yeah.
And then I want to also talk about this situation of unity. I think that, you know, Jamal spoke on is like, what is holding us back from coming together, right? Because again, you said this before. You said, like, why does it take this much for us to come together and build, you know, a product and own something? I gave you my perspective, but tell me yours.
Well, my perspective is this: in terms of unity, listen, we have to organize. What you'll see soon is that fan base we don't have an option. So what I'm encouraging you to do, and I'm going to get to your question, but what I'm encouraging you all to do is to begin migrate. First of all, cold turkey. Migrate. I'm not saying cut off your TikTok because I know that you're addicted to it. I'm not saying cut off your Instagram because I know you feel like you need it. But what I am saying is the TikTok that you know today is not the TikTok that you're going to know a year from now. The Instagram that you know today is not the Instagram that you're going to know a year from now. It's not what you think that it is. So what I'm telling you, what I'm suggesting, strongly suggesting, is that you start migrating and start building your community on Fanbase, where you will not be censored, where you can get your community the information that they need, where we can start really, really focusing on our culture, where it's celebrated, where we're not being suppressed, where there's not misinformation and disinformation, where we can really build, because this really is for you. And I would be saying this, whether whether what's going on in the administration right now is happening or not. But I'm saying it right now because it's critical, and it really is a life or death situation. And when I said that 2 months ago, it's like life or death. How? Now you see how. And it's only going to get worse because it's going to come to your front door. And so when you talk about why is it so difficult for us to have unity, we're not going to have a choice but to have unity, because that's what we're going to be pushed to. So while we have the luxury of organizing, and that's what this is all about, us organizing, while we have the luxury, even though we're already late, but while we have the luxury of organizing, we need to begin doing that right now.
So Keenan, on me real quick. Full screen and bring up my verification badge, 'cause I want to talk to everybody real quick about this. Yes. So we are in the middle of this equity crowdfund. The raise for Fanbase, this raise is closing December 15th. So after December 15th, you will no longer be able to invest in Fanbase at the valuation that it is. Now, mind you, since we started this raise, we've gotten almost 600,000 or 700,000 new users, a ton of new features, hired a bunch of new team members, and I want people to understand about ownership. So right here, this verification badge that you see, anybody that invests in Fanbase, because I want people to know that they've been part of this movement and they own and they have equity in this. This is the badge that says I own Fanbase, that I am an owner, right? Representation matters, ownership matters. I've spoken for so long about own something, but I want people to know who owns Fanbase and who is here from the beginning. So if you've ever invested in Fanbase, no matter what the amount that you invested in, you're going to get this verification badge that says I own Fanbase. And anybody that invests this evening and all the way to the close of this raise, so that when this is done, people know who was there before the party really jumped off and understood what's going on as far as having equity and ownership and building platforms and building community. So we're about to jump into my guy Van Lathan, and then we'll be right back after that. All right. Welcome back to Investathon 2025. I am joined now by someone that I respect highly in the world of media. We have, spirited debates from time to time that are on the phone that last for an hour at minimum. But I want to give a shout out to my guy, Van Lathan, for joining us on Investathon 2025. How you doing, my guy?
I'm well. How you doing, Ike?
I'm doing amazing. I've been watching you, give it to everybody on network television, especially when you're on CNN. I love seeing you, give a responsible, grounded commentary on what's happening in our country and not really being the pundit, you know what I mean, as they are on these platforms. I think your voice is needed. Your honesty is what got you where you are today, I think, and we respect that over here. We're moving into the space of independent journalism that I think with social media. How do you feel about where we're headed and where we're going?
In terms of independent journalism?
Yeah, like with social media, podcasting, you have an amazing podcast, but with this shift in social and the changes that are being made with all these social apps, how do you think we're moving? How do you think this is going to turn out for us?
I think there's a double-edged sword, and what I mean by that is there's really no way to get around it. It's a double-edged sword. Okay, so let's view things from the prior landscape. So I'm not an independent media journalist person. My Spotify owns my podcasting.
Got it.
So that's a gigantic, ginormous conglomerate and a company. I'm not a part of any legacy media, and not being a part of legacy media frees you up to maybe do things or say things that you wouldn't be able to say on there. Let's take an honest look at the landscape right now. There's upsides and downsides to each thing that we're talking about. Legacy, independent media, new media versus legacy media. What are the downsides? There were at least some sort of safeguards on legacy and prestige media.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning when they lied, and they did,
it had to be a gigantic lie that everybody agreed on. And the reason why it was like that is because if something, an entity like CBS, NBC, they come out and they say something that's untrue, well, then you sue a gigantic conglomerate.
Mm-hmm.
And you sue a gigantic conglomerate, and the damages that you can win from that conglomerate are immense. But not just that. The harm to their prestige was such that whenever they get caught in a scandal where they lied or they got some information wrong, it significantly affected their place in the marketplace. Meaning if Americans are looking for a place to get truthful information from, or either even somewhat accurate information from, and it's between those big companies, part of their selling point to America is that we give you the most accurate stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Fox changed that. I'm not saying that they were all honest before Fox,
Right.
but I'm saying what Fox did was Fox came and said, we can give you news that is blatantly and obviously slanted and leads to disinformation and misinformation, but our saving grace is that we're the number one news source. The Dominion lawsuit against Fox is a gigantic development that kind of goes under the radar in terms of what a big deal it is. It's a private company that sued a major network broadcaster for publishing misinformation, and they won nearly $1 billion. Like a gigantic settlement.
Yeah.
Now, all of that being what it is, there were some standards. A lot of these journalistic standards were cultural norms. I'm going to be honest with you. Some of this stuff was, I am a journalist, I won't lie.
Yeah.
But a lot of it was marketplace control because there was so much money involved. New media and independent media has this blissful, amazing, fantastic superpower of not being governed by media oligarchs and higher ups.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning it can be you in front of a camera telling your truth as you see it. But what happens to you if you don't tell the truth? Answer, not very much.
Yeah.
It doesn't really hit. There's really no hit to what it is that you're doing unless one of these big conglomerates or the celebrity or the thing that you're reporting on decides to sue you. There's not very much penalty for peddling and misinformation. It doesn't hurt you. There's so many voices out there. There's going to be enough people to believe believe in your blatant lie that it's going to feel true to some people. And there's not much anyone can do. So in a way, whereas there is way more opportunity for people to tell their truth, there's also way more opportunity for people to tell their lies, and there's no arbiter of which is which. So it calls upon the person that is consuming it to be super aggressive about vetting it for themselves, and that's just not happening.
Got it. Well, let me ask you this. So, all these oligarchs, I think the conversation that we've been having this evening is about 4 guys own about 90% of media. If you think about X, Meta with Facebook, Instagram, now you're looking at Oracle with TikTok and CBS and maybe Warner. How do you feel about all these right-wing, conservatives owning social media platforms? What does that mean? And do you think we need our own version of social media that's separate from the oligarchs?
I mean, certainly, yeah. I mean, you need, first of all, if the we is Black culture, we just need legacy. We need legacy. Generation over generation, we need legacy. We need things that we know work for us, and not so we can sit around jacking each other off and just agree with everything all the time. It's not for that purpose. It's for the purpose that in order to establish a lasting presence in America, you need legacy. You need something that belongs to you. That's what you need. Elon Musk, when he decided that he wanted to pollute the marketplace of ideas, he didn't start his own joint. He went and bought Twitter.
Yeah.
He went and bought Twitter because he bought that from his own culture. He bought that from, that was something that a white man invented. White men shake hands and make rules and deals with white men. He bought that from a white corporation, and now he gets to shape it and bend it to his will. Well, if you were trying to go out and buy Twitter and buy something to influence black people, you'd have to buy Twitter because that's what exists. But what if there was something else? If there was something else that existed that was on that level or that we use to that level, we could make a decision about what our truth is and how we communicate with each other. And whether it be a music label, a social media app, a movie studio, or whatever, eventually somebody somewhere is going to have to come up with some kind of structure or some type of framework where we get to decide how we communicate with each other on these apps and platforms. But I mean, yeah, the consolidation of all of these things has to do with the fact that and look, everybody's out to make a buck, but the more money that comes into this, I mean, you could wake up 5 years and the Saudis could own Twitter. If the Saudis decided right now that they wanted to pay $100 billion for Twitter, you know, it's a passion. Like, we're living in a world where the bag wins.
Yeah.
And when the bag wins, truth normally doesn't. So all of these people that are conglomerating or like condensing and doing all of this stuff, it's essentially so that they control the flow of information, and they can use the flow of information to influence you to believe in what their interests are. And the question is, what are your interests, and who is speaking up for that?
So, well, I think what is the responsibility for us to own that narrative and own that conversation?
We go back and forth about this all the time. All right. We talk about this a lot. This is the way I believe. And people don't have to agree with me. I believe that you owe it. I'm on the street. I go to sandwich shop every day. Whatever the sandwich shop is, whoever owns it, I eat the sandwich.
Where is he?
Going down that same street one day, brother has opened a sandwich shop. Brother, sister, beige, black, whatever you want to call them. They black. They open a sandwich shop. They go, hey, I got a sandwich shop too. I owe it to them to try their shop. Now, if I go there and the sandwiches are nasty, I can go and say, hey, man, I tried your sandwich shop. Y'all putting too much mayonnaise on the shit. All right?
Yeah.
Like, change it up.
Yeah.
Now, change it up for me. It's too much for me. Too much mayonnaise for me. Okay, you see how they respond to your critique of how they're doing their business and whatever. But you owe it. You owe it to them, to me, culturally, to try the sandwiches. To patronize their business, you should do that. You should do that because if you think holistically about community, then you think about what it means for that person to have success. How is this another conduit for the black dollar to stay inside of the black community? Is this an expansion of the black community? And when you look at any job, any sort of industry where black people are trying to make a push, you owe it to them to give their thing a spin. This is different insofar as, do you trust your community enough for the intelligentsia of your community to have power in America? Do you trust the smart black people? The world knows that you trust the smart white ones. White guy graduates from MIT. He says, I have an idea. When he turns around, he's got $50 million. Right? This has happened with us. But do you trust them? And that doesn't mean that that's always going to work out. But what it means is, if you think black movies are important, well, then you'll go see them. If you think black tech is important, then you'll support it. If you think black restaurants are important, then you'll support that too. I'm being typically hyper verbose about everything, but I will say this to put a button on this particular point. There's an extra added thing that's about to enter into this, and we see it happening already, which is persecution. We're quickly careening towards a political reality in this country to where what you say will get you persecuted by the powers that be. Like, what you might say on Twitter might have somebody at Twitter not only getting rid of your account for a violation of whatever their fluid terms of service are, but it might have them sending what you said to the FBI. It might have them sending what you said to some other overlord in order to get you in trouble and have somebody come after you, your freedom and your business and your personal persona. The question is, when you talking, who do you feel comfortable talking to? Who do you feel comfortable talking around? Who do you feel comfortable with your data, with your information? Do you feel comfortable with people from your own community that you might know having that? Or do you feel comfortable with Elon Musk and some of the other people, Bari Weiss at the Free Press, who is now going to be editor-in-chief of CBS News? Do you feel comfortable with them? Pretty soon, Black media spaces, Black tech spaces, they aren't going to be a choice. They're going to be a necessity. They're going to be the only place that you might be able to express yourself freely and honestly. And then the question will be, once they have that power, how they respond to it, and you never know.
Wow. Well, I thank you. You put a lot of intelligence and intellect into this conversation tonight. Tell everybody where they can find you online, where they can watch your show, and they can support you and find you.
I don't care. I'm not saying that. No plugs. If you like me, come. Like, if you like me, you've seen me before, come find me. I ain't got nothing to sell you. I'm telling you right now, get involved in your future. Whether you hear from me, whether you hear from Ike, he got some Atlanta propaganda to sell you. Whether you hear from me, whether you hear from Ike, whoever you hear from, I don't need you to come get more from me. Just get it from somebody. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for joining us, my guy.
Always, you're a good man, and you stay at the forefront of what's right. We don't always agree, but I know I can trust you, and that's the most important thing.
Same here. Thank you very much, man.
All right, peace.
All right. Welcome back to Investathon 2025. I'm now joined by a phenomenal Black woman who is standing in the gap, defending this country and leading us in a crazy time right now. And I'm so thankful that she's here to join us this evening. I appreciate her. Everybody welcome Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett to Investathon. What's up? How are you? You good?
I don't know anyone who is sane and good in this current time, but thank you for asking. As we are speaking, obviously the shutdown is in full-throated mode. And so things are about to get really, really difficult for so many federal workers, not that things haven't been difficult. So just a lot of stress, trying to work for your constituents while also trying to make sure that you're taking care of the good people that take care of your constituents every single day. So just a lot going on.
Well, from me to you, I want to say thank you for your leadership and your service. You're doing a phenomenal job. Whatever you need from me and us, always feel free to reach out, but thank you, for what you're doing. We had an opportunity to speak some months back, and the conversation about ownership and social media came up. And it's funny how drastically things have changed in just a short time. Share your thoughts on this new right-wing takeover of all media and kind of what that means, especially for the Black community getting their messaging out.
Yeah, so a couple of things. Number one, when you and I talked about the fact that we are already behind. So we feel like, hey, we in the game now because we didn't got on social media, right? And it's like, by the time we jumped on social media, they decided, you know what? we don't want to just be on social media. We want to own the platforms. And that way we can dictate how you get your information, which information you get, as well as decide that we will make it okay for lies to come through. And typically they come through at a higher and more rapid rate than the truth. The truth always seemingly gets suppressed. And so it is important, not only that we get to the point that we believe in ownership, and not just for social media. This is for everything, right? Like businesses, like we need to own them. So we're not over there begging somebody to have a spot at their place. That's essentially what we are doing right now. If somebody shuts you down or decides that they're going to depress your content, that may impact whether or not you can even earn money through your business, because so many of our businesses are using these social media platforms, or whether or not, just like they're trying to make it to where our Black stories can't be told, we don't know whether or not people will ever know our Black present stories, let alone our past, right? Let alone our history. So as we know, we've seen all of these random lynchings that they have said here recently of Black men, that they have claimed these Black men climbed trees just to hang themselves and that they were suicide. But because we were able to get those stories out, we were able to organize, we were able to get stories that maybe mainstream media does not want to cover. We were able to get our stories out, and we are starting to get some of the truth out as well. So we just don't want to be put into a vulnerable situation to where our stories won't get told, to where our truths, to where our images, our real images, are not going to be on full display because they only want to display this caricature of who they think we are versus the reality of who we are.
Well, what do you think? What's the responsibility to support alternative platforms now that we're in this arms race for access to distribute information? You know, I actually built, Fanbase for the reason to just also have a place where our truth, our version, we could reach each other, communicate with each other as a people, as Black people, as a community, as people that don't have this ideology that exists on the other side. What's the responsibility of us to support platforms like Fanbase and other platforms that get the messaging out that aren't contaminated?
Yeah, I think that we've always figured out a way to have our own space. No matter what it was, we have always been the culture curators, right? And so people follow our lead and follow our trends. And so I do think it's important that we are very intentional in this moment, especially as they are trying to delete who we are. They are trying to delete our real life stories, that we say, you know what? We are not going to allow you to have that much power over us. So we've got to be very intentional in all ways, whether we're talking about the virtual world or whether we're talking about the real world, being very thoughtful about how and where we spend our money and our energy and our time. We've seen that with the boycott of Target, right? Like, it is very important. We saw what happened when people got riled up about Jimmy Kimmel, right?
Yeah.
They brought Disney to their knees. So this is not only an opportunity for us to be able to communicate, but it's also a way for us to garner our power, right? If we all move and we say we are intentionally going to be in Black spaces, well, that means that more money is going to naturally come to where we are, because the number one consumer is Black people. So whether you're talking about advertising dollars, this is where they are going to want to be. And so now you're talking about contributing to our overall economic ecosystem, which is how we need to be thinking about things. It's like, how do we make sure that Black people are going to be okay in this anti-quote unquote DEI world that we live in, where they don't want to celebrate our diversity, they just want to steal our diversity and co-opt it and do their own thing? How do we make the dollars come to us so that we are not consistently talking about the wealth gap and explaining that the disparity is so great? How do we do our part to make sure that we are still in this game? And frankly, Black people have always figured out a way to survive. This is yet another kind of way of showing our creativity, our ingenuity, and our survival tactics. So, I mean, I think we just have to be very intentional.
I wanna offer this to you and anybody that needs a voice. I think that I've said this before. A lot of times, like campaigning and getting messaging out has moved digital, and I think the tool to reach voters through social media is being underutilized, especially probably by the Democratic Party in ways that I feel like the other side is doing so very, very effectively. What do you think about using social media as a way to campaign, message, reach people in mass? We have these great audio rooms on Fanbase that are available that you don't even have to download the app. You can actually just have an audio town hall, and anybody that has the link could listen. So hundreds of thousands of people could listen to a conversation, to mobilize voters, register to vote, all these things. How important is using technology in this era to mobilize voters in action?
I mean, it's paramount, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I think about technology and campaigns, or when I just think about, you know, technology as a whole, there was a time in which we got around because of horse and buggy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we advanced a little bit, and we put a little carriage onto their horse and buggy, right? Like, and then we advanced a little bit more, and we found an engine to put up in there, right? And so we continue to make advancements in general, and we change our mode of transportation, but how we communicate, especially in these campaigns, it has to change. And we've seen the shifts. And so do I believe in kind of the fundamentals of campaigning? I do.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got to make sure that you layer in and recognize that this is just the way that you get to certain people. There used to be a time when we had telegraphs, right? And that was a way of communicating. We don't use telegraphs anymore. And then, you know, do we use our landlines as much as we used to? Not quite, but some people still got them, right? So you still need to make sure you got your landline and you're doing your robocalls, but you also need to make sure that you're using cell phones and text messaging people, right? But then you also need to make sure that you're not only doing what we call broadcast TV, but now people do cable TV. They also do streaming, as well as it's very important to make sure that a portion of your communications is just through social media. And I love the fact that, like, you can do your teletown hall and broadcast it anywhere, and we're in the shutdown. So this is on my official side, right? But I think it's always important to make sure that I'm communicating with my constituents. And one of the things that I told my team is that I didn't just want to do the teletown hall anymore where we just jump on the phones, but I was like, we need to simulcast this all out online to all the platforms that people prefer. And so we are going to try to add that component to it as well, so that it's, yes, I'm on the phone. So for my OGs that are like, I just want to call in and listen, they can do that. But for people that are saying, I'm not getting on the phone and listening, but I will pull up, you know, my app and I'll listen to a live. So if you really want to stay on top, if you want to stay in office, you would be wise to stay with the curve, if not ahead of the curve, when it comes to technological communications.
And lastly, the First Amendment, we spoke briefly, is being challenged. I know that, you know, on over here, we don't really, you know, I'm not going to say really, we don't want to censor individuals. We want people to have the freedom to speak and use their voice to get their message, especially this attack on Black culture and Black people. How do you think we should move in this way of communicating and utilizing our voice to express what's going on and fight in ways that we can, just using our voices online to spread awareness?
Yeah, it is so important. I mean, the only thing that's been revealed to me is that we have failed. We have failed to adequately and accurately educate people on what it is to be patriotic, what it is to be American, what it is to be a country that has a constitution, and what it is the Constitution stands for. The fact that we debate some of these things is absolutely astounding, because I'm like, these are basics. But when you have people that are at the very top and they are acting as if there is an argument to be made, then no wonder that other people are struggling. And so Our First Amendment, our constitutional rights are in distress right now. And it's not just the First Amendment, but I mean, I would imagine that if it's first, it was kind of important, right?
Absolutely.
And so this is where you're going to get your freedom of speech, your freedom of assembly. And so we've seen them trying to go after freedom of assembly so much with the protests, right? They've tried to crack down on protests in general. That is what assembly looks like. We've seen them going after freedom of press, which is also the First Amendment. And this is where we see all the shakedowns from Trump. You know, Trump has finally been able to get him some coins by suing everybody that says something that he does not like and then just getting a payout. I mean, the corruption is astounding. And I'm sorry, but like, if y'all would have elected the black woman, at a very minimum, y'all already know she wasn't even gonna try this stuff, because black people already know we be under the damn jail. So like, yes, like, but this is what happens when you got privilege. For those that didn't know what it looked like, just look at the White House, the 34 count convicted felon who's not a black man, to be clear, because like never would have happened. But nevertheless, right? So we see the attacks on freedom of press, and then the freedom of speech, right? We see the students. I just got a great update from a young lady that is down in Texas. I won't say her name, but she had a situation after this Charlie Kirk stuff, right? Because they forgot what freedom of speech looked like when it came to, you know, even just repeating his own words. I mean, repeating his words was like controversial. I'm like, was it controversial when he said it? Because being black,
right,
it felt controversial when he said half the stuff, but whatever. So they went after so many of these students that it seemed like, at least the images that I saw, they were black students. And, you know, it's like, say what you want to say, feel how you want to feel about how somebody feels about the ultimate result of what happened with Charlie Kirk or whatever. But like, this country stands for freedom of speech. So I get lots of hate mail all the time. And it is what it is. Like, I mean, they are free to say crazy stuff. I think that where we have fallen, though, is that every constitutional right has limits, right? Like, it's a balancing test. And so we have always, you know, taught people that in law school, they say you can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater. Even though you've got freedom of speech, that has the potential to directly cause harm to people, because if people start running and trampling over people, that's next level. So you wouldn't be protected in that way. You would end up catching a case, right? Similar to the case that the president caught for his incitement. It resulted in people being harmed. It resulted in damage to our Capitol. He really should have been jailed for that as well. But now it's like, if you just say, do like Jimmy Kimmel and play a tape of him talking about his, you know, they asked him about his friend, and instead he wanted to talk about this bootleg ballroom. You know, feel the way, but like, it's free speech. And frankly, it was just your words. So what we have seen is that they want to say the most ridiculous things. I had somebody that literally sent something that crossed the line to me yesterday. So Capitol Police gonna need to pay him a visit, because it did go into that realm of like criminal, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so, you know, he'll hopefully get a visit as soon as we track down the IP address and all that good stuff.
Wow.
And so some people just gonna have to find out in real time what is really free speech. But I just want to say thank you to the American people, the people that are pushing back, the people that decide that they're going to show up for jury duty, the people that are rejecting these ridiculous cases when they come to grand jury, the people that ultimately will reject some of these ridiculous cases once they end up being tried. It is insane what we are experiencing, but I know we can make it out, because we are standing on the right side of history. And so I want people to be bolder in exercising their freedom of speech and making sure that they are as critical as they feel like they need to be of this administration. Because if they can silence you, then they win. And that's exactly what they are trying to do. They are trying to threaten people into silence And therefore, when there is no opposition, they are able to destroy us. And I refuse to be destroyed. And I know all of you that are watching right now refuse to be destroyed as well. So it's so important that you continue to use your constitutional rights and raise your voices.
Wow. Well, thank you. We are going to be here for you in any messaging that you need to get out. Fanbase is a platform. Excuse me. Fanbase is a platform for everybody. Excuse me. Hold on. Fanbase is a platform for anybody that wants to exercise their right to free speech. And I thank you for joining us this evening. I appreciate, again, what you're doing. And thank you for taking this time. I know you're a busy woman, so I appreciate you stopping through and blessing us with your presence this evening. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Good to see you.
All right. Talk to you later. All right. Welcome back to Investathon 2025. This is the end of the program. Tamisha, any closing words?
I would just say, invest in Fanbase. It's the only place where our voices are not at risk of being silenced. And when we think about our voice, and I'll make this quick, when we think about our voice, it's like, it's not just you talking on Instagram. It's not, or on Twitter. It's not just casual conversation. You need your voice for survival. When we need to warn, when we need to organize, when we need to get information to one another. Without it, we are defenseless. We need our voice to speak truth. And what that means is they are the powers that be are working to dismantle our truth and our history. So we need our voice to keep that going, to make sure that that's not done, to make sure our history is not dismantled. And we need our voice. Our voices are that's our power, and it's what gives us leverage. So I would just say, think about that. You need your voice for survival, for truth, and for your power. It shapes policy, it shapes the culture, and it could say, and it's what's going to save our lives.
Well, thank you for that. On me, Keenan, full screen. This is the end of Investathon 2025. I wanted to take a different approach this year because, again, things are just different. I know that social media is supposed to be fun, and fan base is still fun, but the urgency for us to take this opportunity to own infrastructure and have a way to communicate and talk to one another and build community, and the way that these platforms are about to shift and silence and shadow ban and suppress to have their own particular agenda of what they want to accomplish, and do that. I thought it was very, very necessary to do that. One more time for the verification. Boom, up here. Boom. Keenan's quick with it. Everybody that invests in Fanbase, and the minimum to invest in Fanbase is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This is not a GoFundMe. This is not a donation. This is ownership. And this verification badge will represent your ownership. So when this round closes on December 17th, you will no longer be able to invest in Fanbase. At this valuation, it is closed. We have done a lot, but we're bringing this round to a close. In Canada, go to frontfunder.com. I'm sorry, frontfunder.com/fanbase, and that's FRONTFUNDR/.com/fanbase to invest. For our Canadian viewers who have always wanted to invest in Fanbase, this verification badge applies for you as well. This applies as well. And we're going to continue to build. Coming up towards the end of this month, we spoke briefly about this tonight, is our recommendation engine for Fanbase. So we're launching an all new recommendation engine. Our algorithm, that is DEI AF, to include everybody, right? And to include all voices, not silence people, making sure that you're getting the right content, the things that you want. We've been really quiet about what we've been building at the platform this year. Not a lot of cosmetic updates. There's some surprises coming, but I wanted to make sure that even this raise is what it's about. This is a challenge. This is a grassroots built company. This is not a bunch of VCs that got together and threw a bunch of money at some people that don't look like us to build something that we use and make a multi-billion-dollar platform that we don't own. And so again, I want to thank Roland Martin for allowing us to host us tonight, as well as Real Life Productions, which is Real Life Street Stars, Beehive TV, Not All Hood, and Ryan Holtz in Canada. I want to thank Tamisha again for joining us, who really set the tone for this evening. Just in the conversation we've been having the last 60 days or so. I want to shout out everybody at Fanbase that continues to work hard, the entire development team, our senior leadership team. Shout out to everybody that's here in studio tonight. You guys can't see, there's a lot of people around us, but Andy, Noah, Mario, Lauren, Ava, Keita, Valley, everybody that's been joining us, Ebony, all that have been a part of tonight. And I thank you. But again, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest. This is an opportunity that, again, that Black culture and Black people need to take to own something. I built this platform because I'm tired of us building up somebody else's platform, and then we having to kiss their behind to get the respect and the ownership and the equity deserve. So I thank you all again, and we're going to leave you with a special video presentation again of what free speech means, and we'll see you next time. Growing up, we were taught that freedom of speech was our God-given right. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness were supposed to be the foundation of this nation. But every day, we see these principles betrayed. Our outspoken cultural leaders, friends, and family, people who dare to use their voices, are being targeted for their viewpoints. Not for violence, not for hate, but for words. For criticism, for truth. Think about that. Everyday people, the people you follow, listen to, and look up to, are being silenced and labeled dangerous simply for speaking their mind. If it can happen to them, it can happen to any one of us. Influential creators, the very people shaping culture and sparking dialogue, are being branded dangerous for speaking out against injustice. Their voices are being buried, their reputations attacked, and their livelihoods threatened. This is why we cannot depend on platforms that are not built for us. Platforms that suppress us and mute us the moment our words challenge power. The future of the creator economy requires founders who stand on principle, whose ideals don't bend with politics, and whose values don't shift based on who holds power. We should all demand nothing less. We crave spaces created by us, for us. Spaces where freedom to be you is not just a slogan, but a guarantee. We deserve and must demand spaces where our voice can't be silenced and our history can't be rewritten. Places where what you create belongs to you, where your future isn't at the mercy of an algorithm, and where the community protects its own. This isn't just about social media. It's about agency and ownership. It's about making sure that no one corporation or politician can decide whether your voice matters. Today, I'm calling for all of us to stand together and declare, enough is enough. Enough of being silenced. Enough of being labeled as threats for daring to speak. The future belongs to the creators, the truth tellers, the movement builders. And our future will be written on platforms that cannot be bought, muted, or weaponized against us. That is our birthright. Let us be brave, let us be bold, let us be seen, and let us be heard together. Every movement has a moment. Our voices express our freedom, and our freedom is non-negotiable. Now is our time. And as MLK taught us all, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Thank you.